In this video, I'm going to break down actually how you can scale one-to-one coaching and mentorship in 2025. Even if you don't think you can, you absolutely can. And I'm going to show you how I've done it and I've helped my clients do it too. If you're new here, my name is Letice Hudson. I'm an online business coach and mentor, and I specialize in helping my clients create scalable monthly recurring revenue offers and generating leads on autopilot. So I'm going to break down, you guys, why I transitioned from this big ass group high ticket program to really starting kind of over with one-to-one coaching where I started, scaling that up and being able to essentially keep increase our profit levels by doing that. So I want to give you a little bit of backstory, then we'll jump into how you can actually do this. But back in 2022, at the end of 2022, I had surgery for endometriosis. It's an elective surgery, but in order to get diagnosed, you have to have a surgery. So I had the surgery, have dealt with like really painful cycles my entire life. And a big part of me wanting to be able to feel really good about myself again was getting that surgery. So I did. And one of the things that I had reflected on as I was in my recovery, we were making money. The team was handling a lot of the day-to-day tasks. But what I realized was that if something had happened to me on that surgery table, and thank God nothing did, everything went smoothly. Shout out to my doctor. She was amazing. If something had happened, my business would have been in shambles regardless, right? Like, because at the core, I'm still the main person that is responsible for delivering. I'm still responsible for the training of all my team members, even though I had an operations person. Like, I'm still the face of the brand in the business, which I love, right? And I'm still that till this day. But I realized was that like I was running a business that I didn't even want anymore. And I had knew from a long time ago, right? And I had did HR in corporate. That's what my bachelor's degree is in. I loved working with team members, but I didn't want a massive team myself. So I come to this conclusion. I was like, it has to be better than this, right? Like, because although I wasn't working with people one to one, I traded my time to managing my team. And that was one of the most interesting yet like enlightening experiences that I had. And I had, for the most part, the most amazing team members and employees and contractors on my team. But what I realized was that I no longer felt like I was running my business for me. I felt like I was running my business for everybody else. And just to be frank, right, like I didn't get in business to feel like I was responsible for a bunch of adults all the time. I didn't, right? Like I didn't. And I knew that I eventually potentially wanted a family and to get married and all of those things. And I didn't feel like I had freedom. So that's when I decided I wasn't going to lay anybody off, right? I wasn't going to do that. That just didn't feel good to me at my core. And I respect people that do. And I pray that there's never a time that I have to do that, regardless of how small or big my team is in the future. But I wasn't going to lay anybody off. I knew that I needed to make sure that I fulfilled and the promises that I started the business with and the goals that I had for that. So natural attrition happened, right? People were leaving and we just slowly, and I was very upfront and honest, like I don't want to necessarily enroll for this program anymore, but if there's different things in business that you can do, your hours may be cut a little bit, but like overall, like there may be different things that you can do. But one by one, team members had different things coming up. One's mom was sick and one was going back to school. So we knew that was ending. So it kind of all started to fall into place. Although on the outside felt like it was falling apart, it was really falling into place internally. So all of that happened, and naturally, we basically attrition happened and got down to two team members. It took over about a year for that to happen. But what I realized on that journey is I started to rebuild my offer suite and rebuild how I wanted to serve my clients and rebuild my business model. I wanted my business model to demonstrate freedom for me first because I started the business. The business was started off of my vision, and I knew I didn't want some corporatized ass business. I didn't want that. I had left that. I didn't want it anymore. So for me, I started to really look at how could one-to-one actually work in a way that not only serve the clients, but serve me really well because people were always asking for it. And I was very like, I didn't have the time because I was serving all of my team members and building our curriculum and creating content still and running our ads. I didn't have time, right? Especially with my chronic illness. So as we started to kind of like wind back on my old program and kind of close its doors and all the things, I had realized that like the difference was clients still wanted access. They still wanted to get what we had. I just wasn't going to offer it in a way that burned me out, in a way that made me filled with anxiety up at 2 a.m. thinking about how to respond to this client and how to help my team member navigate this and how to do that when I was doing half the work anyway. I was like, I don't want that anymore. So I looked at, okay, I looked at working with my best one-to-one clients that I'd worked with over the course of the last few years. And I was like, what did they need from me? What did I give them? And how did they use that time? They wanted access to me first and foremost. They wanted some sort of access. What I also realized is that the access that I was giving them was from a place of insecurity that I needed to be everything to everybody at all the time. So I stopped that shit. I was like, that's not necessary, right? If these bro marketer guys aren't out here doing it, I'm definitely not going to do it, right? What I realized is that they're coming to me to solve a problem. And as long as I was giving them enough space to be able to ask questions, get support, but also implement, the problem would be solved. So that's when I decided to make these switches in my business model to be able to get to a place where we were achieving 70-80% plus profit margins, right? That's not necessarily including taxes, but like really high profit margins before tax. And that allowed me to actually find freedom again. So I'm going to share with you guys the switches that I made, and how much happier I am now about what, like a year and a half post, like a lot of those transitions. Okay. Cause we're in mid 2025. It took about a year or so for it all to start to fall into place. Okay. So here's some of the switches I made, and here's why I'm happier than ever. And I do now have a community again, inside of my business, but for a while I just sold one-to-one and was able to get to really great revenue number months. They weren't the 100K, 200, like I was never at 200K, but like 100K cash months, 90K cash months that we were at. But like I knew to establish my baseline again and to be able to be happy again and find joy in my business, I needed to run my business and make money, but I also needed to pay myself more. And I also need to pay attention to myself more, because how I was feeling was driving everything. And I wasn't feeling good when I was running that big program that wasn't even mine anymore. So there's that. Okay. So, and here's the thing too, I want to just say, like, we're getting great results for a lot of our clients. Like it was never that. It was always what was going to make me happy. So here's the switches that I made to be able to scale my one-to-one, and make it feel like home for me. So first I had to shift the belief that I couldn't save everybody and I wasn't here to save everybody. And I wasn't going to market to try to be people's savior. Instead, right, I was going to market to people that wanted to take, right, their current offers and business models and all the things and be able to create more success and more income and all the things. But I want to talk to that more higher level person, not the person that was stuck or struggling, but the person that was empowered and ready to make a change. That's the person that I wanted to talk to, right? And here's the thing I need you guys to understand too, from a perspective, is that not everybody should have access to you. Your mom doesn't even have access to you 24/7, right? So you shouldn't be giving access to everybody 24/7, okay? You are the only person that has access to you 24/7. So when you set those boundaries and have office hours and have onboarding and offboarding and have, hey, I'm available between this time and this time, that sets precedent for how clients are going to treat you. Because if you give them the world, they're going to expect the world. But if you don't give them the world, you just give them a little sliver, they're going to expect that. And you can slightly over deliver to a point where it feels really good and it's exciting, but you're not burning yourself out. Okay. So that's the first thing I had to make a mindset belief, that like, I'm not going to be everybody to everybody, everything to everybody. And I'm also not trying to save anybody. And I'm also this is going to be fun for me. It's not going to be a drain, and I'm not going to dread my clients, right? Not that I ever did, but I knew getting back into one-to-one, like I didn't want to dread having to be in service of people. So I made sure that it worked for my schedule first before everybody else's. Okay. Second, from a logistical standpoint, nobody needs a weekly call. They don't. If you're running a group program, for sure, right, at scale. But again, this is about scaling a one-to-one service. So your clients, if they are here to implement and get results, they need time for that. So I got rid of weekly calls, and that, like, I don't know why it took me years. Like I literally ran weekly calls from 2019 to 2024. Even in my group program, I always had a couple of one-to-one clients, 1, 2, 3, maybe 4. But like I was giving them weekly calls. Nobody needs that, especially not a one-to-one client. They're at the highest level. They need support and access. They don't need all of you. Okay. That was one of the biggest like shifts from one-to-one that I created, was that like they don't need weekly calls. So instead, I meet with my high level clients now twice a month, 30 minutes. And here's the gag, they don't even use both calls. Some of them only use one. Okay. So I make it in smaller chunks, more digestible for me, for my energy, and for them. So it's very targeted. I'm not coming up with things to talk about, right? Like it's very targeted. We're going to solve your problem. We're going to nip it in the bud, and we're going to move on. We're going to celebrate, and we're going to keep shit pushing. Okay. So they don't need me to hold their hand every step of the way. They need accountability and support. That's exactly what that structure gives. Okay. The next thing is like, and I've always done this, but this is something that like I really double down on, is like making sure that my signature framework, which is my leads on autopilot framework and my identity framework and the 7-figure upgrade, was instilled inside of my one-to-one. So one of the biggest things I can give you if you're thinking about like if your group coaching program or your membership or if it's all feeling like too much is that don't lose the structure just because you're going to one-to-one, right? Don't lose the structure. What you need to lose is this grip that you have to trying to have to come up with new things every single time or trying to reinvent the wheel. Structure your one-to-one, especially because in the past, a lot of people have come to me and they're like, one-to-one is just so draining. It's not draining when you have a structure, right? If you have a structure, you have a plan, your ideal clients don't always know what they need. You have to tell them, right? Just because they're one-to-one doesn't mean that they have more knowledge than your group clients or your membership clients or your students and your passive ticket, products, right? You need to have that structure. So from A to Z, you should have a rough idea on what it's going to look like for y'all to work together. So if you're working with somebody from a fitness standpoint, the same way that you work with your group clients, you're just delivering that information a little bit more structured in a one-to-one capacity and they have direct access to you. That's what you're actually selling is access to you, not access to you 24/7 like we talked about, but you're actually selling access to you. So miss me with I'm just going to be a coach that holds space, right? You can do that, but also like you don't need to confine yourself to a box, right? Like I don't just call myself a coach or a consultant or a mentor. Like I'm a blend of all the three. And inside of my one-to-ones, I get all of that. Okay. So just support your clients. You don't got to do anything extra or do be too much or too little, right? Stop trying to fit yourself in a box and just structure the plan. Give them a custom roadmap of what it will look like. It's subject to change, but your ideal client is going to feel so much more empowered, right? When they come to your one-on-one container and they know and they have a vision, because you have to sometimes help them co-create that vision. And that's why they're paying for one-to-one and not your group or a passive product. Okay. So the next thing too, when I looked at one-to-one, I looked at, okay, like how can I build my monthly recurring revenue fast? I used one-to-one to do it. I was doing the same thing with my group program, but instead I flipped the script and said, okay, my monthly recurring revenue is going to be way higher with one-to-one because it's more expensive than my group program. And I know like it's really cute, you guys, to want pay in fulls, and pay in fulls are amazing, right? Like I would say a business that does 50/50 or 40/60, like some like semi-equal combination of both is important for cash flow purposes and also consistency purposes from projection standpoints. But like use your one-to-one to stack your monthly recurring revenue. Now I understand you guys, it's not a membership where it just keeps going and going and going, but you can take your one-to-one and put it into 4 payments or 6 payments so that your clients can cash flow a little bit easier. But also now you have projected and predictable revenue month after month for several months at a time. So just know that like we haven't had to start from zero since 2019. So I use these same principles, but I'm applying it to one-to-one. And now the monthly payments are higher because it is one-to-one. So your cash flow will creep up a lot faster with your one-to-one. And you only have to take on several clients. So in the past, maybe you were working with your clients weekly. You can work with double the amount of clients for more rate because you've cut down the amount of time that you're on calls every single week with your clients. And then you also could take a week off from calls because not every single client can use every single call. So if you only give them 2 calls a month, right? Some of them are only going to use one of those calls, right? Which we want our clients to use everything. But if they don't, that's okay. We're not going to force, push, or pry. They use what they need and they don't need anything more or less, right? One-to-one clients I find are typically very empowered and very high level. So they take what they need and it's not about what you need as a coach, it's about what they need. But you put it in the constraints in the container that work for you first. So then everything else falls after that. Okay. And that also means increasing your MRR because you have the right amount of clientele and the right price points to, qualify for that, which makes it really good. So that's kind of the tweaks, you guys. And I've actually have a really structured process on how I onboard our one-to-ones and how I mentor my one-to-ones and how they offboard, right? And a lot of my one-to-ones will sign on 2, 3, 4, 5 rounds. Like I've had a one-to-one client I think she's worked with me 5 or 6 times at this point over the last few years. So I know you guys understand this, but most people inherently know one-to-one is expensive because it's direct access to you. So the frame of it being a high-level container is already there. It's about actually talking about that you have one-to-one and making that your priority, because what you talk about is understood and what's understood and repeated is bought. When you make your one-to-one front and center and you have so many, so much enthusiasm and so much, excitement around it, people are going to buy it because they want to work with you. They want your framework. They want to have your energy. And when you have that energy, they are going to buy from you because they get to be in it every single day. Okay. So the quickest way to stack your MRR, the quickest way to get out of a business model that has you feel like you're bro scaling and overwhelmed and just frustrated because you're trying to be everybody to everything is like roll that back, roll in one-to-one, and you're going to have more profits. You're going to have more excitement and more joy. And like, I only work with, so, like a max of 8 to 10 one-to-one clients at once, but like that doesn't drain me because that's only 2.5 hours a week of coaching, if that. And I take 1 week off every single month because I only offer 2 calls per client. So they would only need calls twice a month anyway. So I'm able to block out a whole week of my calendar once a month, sometimes twice a month, where I don't have any calls. And that's insane, right? So imagine if you have a one-to-one client, if you have 8 one-to-one clients paying you 2K a month, right? That's not my rate, but like if that's your rate, that's $16,000 in recurring revenue, right? Immediately. Okay. And then from there, you can sell your passive products, things like that, retreats, whatever. But like as you grow and scale, right? Like your one-to-one price point is going to go up. So think about it, if it was 5K a month for your one-to-ones times 5 one-to-one clients, that's $25,000 in monthly recurring revenue for the next 6 months. Like that's life-changing revenue. That's life-changing income. And that's predictability and scalability on another level. Okay. And I can tell you my one-to-one clients have the highest or the lowest, I'm sorry, the lowest level of defaults on their payments, like the lowest level. Actually, can't remember the last time I had a one-to-one client default. Okay. So it's not hard, you guys. It's just about having an automated process to bring those clients to you and indoctrinating them in your process. And when you have that, the funnel plus the business model, you have freedom, right? Like I work maybe with my clients less than 10 hours a week, like insane. And our monthly recurring revenue is stacking every single month. So that's the switches I've made, you guys. I'm so much happier and I have my community now. It's not as high ticket as it used to be, but it works for us. And we have a different pricing model, and people that can't afford my one-to-one can come in and still get my core framework inside of our Leads on Autopilot community. And then a lot of them end up graduating into one-to-one to work on, maybe hiring their small team or stacking their MRR more or hosting a live event. Like there's different levels that we could take it. But like at the core, when we think about having joy and having a business that we love and appreciate and we want to show up for every single day, right? Making that change for me and getting to the business model that actually brought me freedom. Now I have like 2 team members on my team. They work super part-time and they do their jobs and they're done, right? Like I'm not managing this massive team anymore. And that alone has been a game changer because I'm serving my clients, they're getting more of me, I'm getting more of them, we're making shit shake, results are through the freaking roof, and they're happy. And that's all that matters. So for me, it was worth the switch. And now I know like it's just math to get to back to 100K plus cash months. And we're on our journey to that this year. So yeah, you guys. And again, I have my community now, but like it's so doable. I could do it with one-to-one if I wanted to. So that's the changes, you guys. And I'm so happy that I've been able to do that. And if you're a, a reformed group coaching scaling person and you're ready to have a business model that brings you freedom, that actually gives you profit left over every month in your business, send me a DM with the word info over on Instagram. And I'm going to send you over a quick video explaining how my entire process works. And if you're wanting to get started, there's no sales call required. And we can kind of talk through exactly how we can work together to get you the business model that brings you monthly recurring revenue, high profit, and just gives you a life that you love so that you're actually being in the essence of money and energy and not being reactive to it every single day. So yeah, you guys, this model has changed my life and I foresee doing it for a really long time because at the core of it, coaching and consulting and mentoring is in my blood and I wouldn't give it up for anything. So yeah, you guys, that's the model. And it's truly set me free and I hope it sets you free soon. Send me a DM with the word info over on Instagram and I'll see you guys in the next one. Be sure to like and subscribe and I'll see you in the next video.